Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to do a contrast review of three of my favorite watches by Casio, the G-Shock line. Three watches which might be considered survival watches, extremely durable, extremely functional, but overall a lot of fun to own and adds a lot of style. So I wanted to compare the three watches and help give somebody out there maybe an advantage when selecting a watch for some of the reasons, the specs, in addition to, of course, the style. So let's go ahead and start this up. So first watch that I have here is the Gravitymaster. This watch right here is going to be one that is an all analog watch. And I'm going to go over a few of the reviews here in a little bit, but in terms of the design on this one's in the olive drab outside exterior color with accents of black, gunmetal, white, and of course the large contrast color is orange. Designed to resemble a flight suit for a pilot. The second watch that I have here is the G-Shock Mudmaster, and this one's a special collaboration edition. This is the Maharishi. So I don't know if that's going to come into focus or not. I'll see if I can get that in there in some way. But the Maharishi, and this watch right here is designed to be the one that's in the dirt, at least by design. I don't know if anybody would put this particular watch to those extremes, but has several functions designed around getting in the dirt, super survival, and again, we'll contrast a few of those here in just a few moments, but this is the G-Shock Mudmaster Maharishi Collaboration Edition. And the last watch that I'm going to compare and contrast is the watch that kind of started it all, and then this is a next evolution of the watch, is the Rangeman. The Rangeman is the one that was supposed to be an ultimate survival watch, and this particular watch took it another step up by having navigation built into the watch. So again, another watch that we'll compare and contrast to the three, take a look at them, see if there's anything that differentiates them, and maybe has you pick one as your choice pick. All right, so let's go ahead and start off. I'm going to kind of point at them, so that way as I'm going over a few of the capabilities, I don't have to pick a watch up every single time, but that way I can designate who has what. All right, so I'm just going to go down the line. All right, so first off, analog. Next, digital. So obviously the Mudmaster here has the mix of two worlds, and you'll see later on how they can come into play to overperform on this particular watch here when it comes to certain functions, not necessarily in the basic design, because there's certain areas on this one that it'll outperform here, but for the most part as a survival watch, this has a healthy blend of capabilities because of the add of the digital screen. Whereas the Rangeman here, of course, being all digital, all of its screens that it would be able to go through are going to be able to change based on whatever that your needs are, and give you updates throughout the day, and it's a special type of LCD. So we'll go over that here in just a second. As a classic G-Shock, for all of these are G-Shock shock resistant. They have their special proprietary alpha gel in each one of them, protecting them from shock and any type of destruction. I think the original predecessor watch was supposed to be thrown out of a multiple story building, and then once they got to that design, as well as making it water resistant and keeping good time, that's when they designated it a G-Shock. So obviously these all have taken it to another level. These are all water resistant, 20 bar, 200 meters. All right, the next up though, this one's going to be another differentiation. So centrifugal force resistance, that's going to be on two of them. That's on these two with the hands. As a result of that, both of these have the tough movement. All three have tough solar, so they're all three a solar charging watch design, with, of course, the rechargeable battery that you're not going to necessarily need to replace. It will have an ultimate life, but ultimately throughout ordinary use over the years, you're not going to do anything except for expose this to sunlight, and that's how you're going to charge it. All three of these, since they're the premiums, they all have their carbon fiber bands. This one's the easiest to show on because of the translucent material that the resin band is made out of. You can see the carbon fiber pattern in there. The only difference on these other two is because they have a solid color on the interior. The only way that you could really tell is if you look at the model number of the resin band on the inside, and then only other carbon fiber is on this one. There's a little carbon fiber insert, but nothing more than a very small piece that you detach, but ultimately protects the bar that's right there. So nice design on that one. All right, next up is low temp LCD. So that's this one only. So this is going to be something that you're going to be able to bring into extreme cold temperatures. When I say extreme, I think it's down to like -10 degrees or -20 degrees. So you're not going to Antarctica with this watch or anything like that, but you're going to be able to operate in some pretty cold climates without any problems. And a lot of LCDs might have issues operating in the cold. Through G-Shock's website or Casio's website, it does say in there that the thing that's low temp capable is going to be the actual LCD itself, but not necessarily the navigation function and the Bluetooth functions and other functionalities of the watch. Just the LCD is what they're speaking of. So that was a unique thing that they had pointed out there. And I don't know if you'll be able to catch this at the top, but you can see it right there, that designation of low temp LCD. All right, after that, we have multi-band 6, so all three of these will be able to connect to the wave scepter technology of atomic timekeeping, depending on where you live. Where I live, I actually can't receive that signal, even though I live in the United States. I'm on the furthest west that you can go of the United States. So I'm in Hawaii. So it doesn't necessarily reach out here. I'm sure at certain times and maybe at certain elevations, you could have a chance of it, but for normal, ordinary use, where I am, I can't receive that, but it's very helpful because most areas of the world are actually covered by that, so therefore your watches would be at extremely accurate timekeeping. After that, then we go into GPS time and GPS location. That's going to be on these two watches, so the Gravitymaster, the all analog watch, believe it or not, as well as the LCD watch Rangeman. Both of these have built-in GPS in them for the time functionality. So if it can't receive by that multi-band 6 atomic timekeeping, instead it'll switch over to GPS for timekeeping. And then in addition to that, it can have GPS time and location, therefore it can designate the proper time zone that you're in. Helpful for those who travel a lot, or maybe if you're in areas where you might be crossing over from time to time. So both of these also, because of that GPS capability, have the GPS point memo. However, this one requires the app to be able to use that function because you don't have anywhere to really see that on here. This one, you can actually see it on the LCD of the screen to where it would show a dot on there. You don't get a map, but instead you would get reference points that maybe you've saved and plotted, therefore you could find your way back to something. So moving on to the next, that's where this one stands out alone. This actually has GPS navigation. Ultimate survival tool that can also be supported and assisted by the tough solar charging. These two watches, the Mudmaster and the Rangeman, are going to be mud resistant, so these are designed to play in the dirt. Altimeter, so that's again going to be these two watches right here. Thermometer, that's going to be again the same two watches, so you're starting to see these are being designated as survival type watches. Okay, battery indication, so on these watches right here, the indicator on this hand right here will show at a H, M, or L. On this, when we switch back and forth, this is where we would be able to see H, M, or L. And on this one, you just have straight up a battery indicator to be able to show and tell you how much charge is on the device. so you can easily tell how charged your watch is before you go out. Once again, as long as you're in some sunshine, you're gonna start charging your watch anyways. Neo Bright Lume. So these two watches, I will go ahead and show some video of it, but these two watches can actually be seen in the dark without having to light up any backlighting because they have Lume built into it. Now on this particular watch, only the 12, 3, 9, and 6 will show up with Lume, as well as the hands. Whereas on the other G-Shock Mudmaster watches, I believe that there is more on the dial that you can see with that Neo Bright Lume. A representation of that would be like the Gravitymaster. Each one of these dial separations will actually show a luminous capability to them, and they're very bright. So very easy to read and will hold for several hours, so where you could see it in very low light conditions. All right, next, Smart Crown. All three of these have Smart Crown, but these two have locking Smart Crowns to them. All auto LED backlight. All three of them have the LED backlight. This one actually has two, one for the LCD and then one for the dial hands. This one being very unique, you can actually use this because it is so bright as a flashlight, at least for the 1.5 to 3 seconds that you can set that for. Extremely bright, will light up a room when it's completely dark, so you would be careful if you're trying to operate in certain conditions where you need to be stealth. But outside of that, a very good function. Wish it had it on these two. It's actually so helpful, and it even helps relight some of that Neo Bright Lume. So next is the timer function. All three of these have a timer, but these two, believe it or not, are the ones with a 24-hour countdown timer. This one right here only has a 60-minute timer. Oddity there, I don't know why that happened, but still functional. I can use it for daily tasks, but would have really loved to have this in a 24-hour time format. Compass, again, designation of survival watches, and that's going to be the Mudmaster and the Rangeman. Sunrise, sunset, that's going to be exclusive to the Rangeman. Extremely helpful in survival situations, letting you know how much time that you have left in your day to be able to do your activities where you need light. Additionally, tide and moon graphs are on this as well, so you'd be able to tell where the moon's going to be. Are you going to have nighttime visibility? And for the tide, you know, if you're out there fishing, surfing, whatever that you're doing. Alarm, all three of them have alarms. However, this only has one alarm, this has 5, and this has 4. On this one does have snooze alarms. So this has 4 snooze alarms, this has 1 snooze alarm. Stopwatch, this is another area where there's a differentiation here. So all three of these have a stopwatch function to it, but these are 1-second stopwatches. So they'll count up 1 second at a time. This you get of course, a digital readout of it. This you're getting an analog readout, which I find that these hands, this dial in the bottom actually turns into your stopwatch. So you're supposed to be able to read this and be able to tell, let's see if I can get that into focus, and be able to tell how many minutes and seconds that you have off of it. It's very challenging, but it's only 1 second at a time. But guess what? These hands get in the way sometimes. So depending on the time of day, very challenging to see your stopwatch function. And I haven't figured out a way to move the hands, whereas I've been able to do that on other watches from time to time. But again, this one, a little bit of a challenge. But here's where the differentiation is with this one, there you go. I have the 1/100th, and start that off, very functional stopwatch. All right, with lap. All right, so that's the stopwatch function, a clear designated winner on that, which would be the Mudmaster. Next, world time. All three of them have world time. Dual time, all three of them have a function of that. All right, phone finder, that's going to be designated here at the Rangeman. So you're able to click a button on here and then find your phone off of it. And with that understanding, this watch, the Rangeman and the Gravitymaster, both have Bluetooth capabilities. Therefore, they're both able to do a smartphone sync. And all three of them have sapphire crystal, and then only one in this category, anti-magnetic. So this one is going to be able to resist any type of magnetism, being able to mess around with the unit. So that's a nice thing to have. The Gravitymaster and the Mudmaster, both of these have a stainless steel backplate, and then the Rangeman has a ceramic backplate. And then the reason for it is because this also is the only one that has wireless charging capabilities. All right, all three of them have metal buckles and metal retainers. And all three of them have a power save mode, and all three of them have the ability to mute to turn the button tones on and off. So this is a showdown of these three watches, the Rangeman, the Mudmaster, and the Gravitymaster, in terms of what you would be looking for. It just comes down to how you're going to use the watch. If you like something super easy on the eyes, obviously this is beautiful, very easy to read, very simplistic view, and you can change out that display on the top there to multiple views, so you can view the current altitude, you can read the current barometer conditions, and you can just make it an even larger display of timekeeping called basic. And then the last one, in addition to what you've already seen on there running, which was the sunrise sunset. Let's go back to that home display. There's that massive view, making it super easy to see on the eyes and giving you date and the day designation, making this a very simple watch to operate off of. So a lot of functionality, super survival, mud resistant, water resistant. You can trash this thing. It's got a sapphire crystal glass. It's going to be able to hold up just like these other two in terms of scratch resistance to that front screen. And then the Mudmaster, this is actually my favorite of the three watches. It was the original purchase of these three watches, and when I saw it, the colorway that's on it is immaculate to me. It's subtle, but it's a different styling, and then the orange accents really make it pop. So I bought this watch for style, but also function. Originally I was only going to buy a watch that had a compass in it for survival. Later on changed over to that Gravitymaster as an option, but I love all three watches. So in the end, I would say any of these three watches is a great pick. If you can pick up all three, great, spend the money. But if not, I hope that you found this contrast comparison useful, and let me know what you think. Like, subscribe. I'll be placing more videos up shortly. Thanks. Have a good one.